Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
We think we're back. It looks like we have maybe figured out these technical difficulties here. Still trying to get Brenner Bear back, but he will be with us momentarily as we see Boise State really doing a great job here. They've got one elimination here, looking to go up. I don't even know what you call it. So I know there's the flawless round when you don't lose a single member. I don't know what it is when you have a flawless defense and you don't even lose a single defense round. So that is what I'm
around.
Come on, we got to come up with a better name than you can't have two kinds of flawless rounds. I want something better than that, Brenner Bear. We need to come up with something like perfect round or insane round or something if you don't drop anything.
Impenetrable defense.
Something like that. Oh, what a pick there.
Yeah, Mozzie just getting that pixel shot off right on that angle. We're going to see Sherb get a triple kill here as well. Last member of Champlain trying to hold it out, but he is taken out by Danny, who just pushed him right away and was able to win the round for Boise State.
I'm thinking it needs to be something like mega flawless. Something insane. So as we see here, Boise State is on match point here, just looking to try and win this game against Champlain. And I have to say here, what can Champlain do to somehow pull off the impossible reverse sweep? Because usually Brenner Bear reverse sweeps Overwatch 3 games, maybe 5 in crazy situations. I don't know if I've ever seen an 8 straight reverse sweep before. That would be absolutely insane.
I mean, I've seen a five straight sweep in well, there's a 4 straight sweep in competitive play, because competitive play is best of 9, whereas these professional matches are best of
Attackers
12,
locate and defuse
I believe.
as many bombs as they can.
So I am definitely interested to see if Champlain can finally get their groove together and manage to pull out at least one victory against this impenetrable Boise State team.
Well, we know Boise State's defense is impenetrable. I'm curious to see with their offense, what is their win condition here? How can they set this up to take the match?
It would definitely be the Thermite and Maverick with the hard breaching on those hatches in both kitchen and bar. But we see this Caveira roaming around, trying to get some scouting value onto this Boise State team on where they go. And she's also going to reinforce that kitchen hatch, which is vital for the defense of this site.
And what is, I guess, the Champlain win condition here? Is there anything they can do to maybe get around here?
I would say keeping the Caveira alive so she can get the value of roaming up top. But we see Boise State just push right into blue hallway and just pick up the member of Champlain through the wall. They're instantly just pushing in that pressure that they've used in the past match, just getting a ton of value for them, as Champlain has not been able to answer their aggressiveness in this matchup. Low Art is able to pick up 2 eliminations onto the Boise State team with a quick peek. Now that Boise State team is going to watch that hole and try to get revenge, as they do.
Attackers have located a bomb.
And that Caveira is sadly taken out as they gain control of the site. And we see one of the members of Champlain come up behind him, but they heard him take out that Claymore, so they know he's coming up behind them. And they get the plant off as well. This puts Champlain in a tough spot, and they go down. Boise State just getting a clean 7-0 against Champlain.
Yeah, really good job by Boise State. As you mentioned, the clean 7-0, took the first game 7-2. Flawless victory. Come on, it's got to be something better than flawless victory. I need like Omega flawless or something.
Just pretend it's Mortal Kombat and it's flawless victory.
I mean, that's what it was for Boise State, doing a really, really good job. You see Sherb there as your MVP. So Boise State doing a really good job taking down Champlain, winning both of those matches. So I guess give us our after-match report here. What do you think Boise State was able to do so well, Brenner Bear, that allowed the Broncos to beat Champlain?
It was definitely their aggressiveness there. They just rolled over the enemy team, just charging in, getting pick after pick, out-aiming the other team, and clicking heads.
That clicking heads thing again. That's just, you make it sound so simple. I feel like it sounds easy until I actually try it, and then I don't know if I'll ever actually get a headshot.
It definitely just becomes muscle memory of just like, all right, characters are this tall, so when they're walking or crouching, you know where their head's going to be and where to aim. It definitely just takes time, which Boise State has put a lot of time into learning those positions.
Does sound like we should have a top 5 place available from that match. Boise State doing an excellent job taking both those rounds up against Champlain. Is there any place that sort of stick out to you, Brenner Bear, that you're really hoping to see in this top 5?
Definitely the Doc run out on the first match in Villa, where he got the quad. That was a huge deal for him. Definitely... That was the one that mainly stuck out for me because they just did not answer to that run out. There's the other run out from the Mozzie where he got the triple outside of Master Bedroom on Villa as well. Boise State did really well with the runouts on Villa. They didn't do as many... They almost didn't do any runouts on Clubhouse, but they just played it defensively very well against Champlain here.
I do see someone in the chat telling me that Rainbow Six is a point-and-click adventure. Is that a good way to say it? Point on the heads, and it's just a click on the heads after you point on them, and it's a huge adventure?
Definitely, 100%. You get the right team together, they'll make it an adventure for you, for sure.
Is it a good adventure or a bad adventure? Because I know in other games, I haven't had fun adventures with my teammates.
Sounds like you need new teammates. No, it's definitely a good adventure. Even if you lose, you still have a good time together. Always.
And I will say, and I want you to be honest with me, Brenner Bear, there are some games, sure. League of Legends, that are known for a toxic community. So just what is, if you hop in this weekend, and I know obviously you can't go right into rank, but what is sort of the community like in Rainbow Six? Is it almost League of Legends-esque, or is it a bit more positive? Or is it more toxic?
A bit more positive. It's a bit more positive. There's definitely those people where you're like, wow, okay, I'm not in League, but okay. But no, I've definitely met a lot of people who are just like, wow, you're awesome. Let's keep playing. And then we do, and I still play with them to this day because I met them on Siege. It's just fun times with friends. You just gotta be in the right mood for it and not let people get to you.
There is someone calling you out, Brenner Bear. Magic Donut saying Rainbow
I
Six
see that.
is
I see it. I mean, play with friends and not randoms. And plus, once quarantine's over, all the Fortnite kids will leave, so that's always nice too.
Oh, there we go. Had to go after Fortnite.
Yeah.
Now,
it's too easy.
I will say, because I do have a follow-up to that before we get to our top 5, it feels like Rainbow Six, is that more headset chatter? Because in League, it's a lot more typing and rage typing. So is Rainbow Six, because it's so quick, is it more people with headsets, or is there still a lot of rage chatters?
Usually rage chatters after they die, because they died. But it's definitely during in-game, you're definitely talking to each other, and people will definitely tell you to like be quiet so they can listen for footsteps, so it's just something to get used to in the game, because it's very sound-based.
So we will be right back. You don't want to go anywhere, because after the top 5, we are going to have a game against really one of just everyone's favorite college. The Santa Cruz Banana Slugs are going to take on Boise State and Rainbow Six. But before we do that, we are going to have the top 5 players from Boise State taking 2 matches against Champlain, and then we'll take a quick break. But we will be right back with more Rainbow Siege action. are sort of roaming as opposed to holding the bomb. Is that maybe a strategy Boise State could use, or since they don't know where anyone is, it would be kind of risky?
I would say they could go for that strat once they find where they are, and they immediately take out that Mozzie on the stairs. So that's both roamers down right there. I believe he picked off the IQ, so that denies their ability to destroy those Cades through the floors as well. And we see Mozzie being just assaulted by this Sophia, but he's gonna quick get that pick on the Sophia as Nomad uses one of her traps, and he's gonna run out and clean up 3 members of Champagne and take the round.
Since 2016, universities have been adding varsity esports, competitive intercollegiate video game teams, with nearly 100 colleges and universities now with official programs. Esports is fast becoming the new college sport. But with any dramatic change comes criticism. How could institutions of higher learning promote something so trivial? But when you look a little closer, esports demonstrates, just like other sports, that it's a pathway to something more.
There's several misconceptions when it comes to esports and its place on the university campus. The first and foremost is that people would say it's not a valuable learning activity. It's not a place where people can learn new job-related skills or maybe get a good industry feel for what's happening outside the university environment. And that's just simply not the case. And all evidence points otherwise. There are so many new jobs. The industry is absolutely booming. People are looking for students that are graduating with experience in things like streaming and technologies, marketing, the whole business side, sponsorships. There's the whole graphics and coding component that involved in esports and other video game type of activities that are really important in just terms of jobs and industry.
And on their way to those careers, students who attend schools with varsity esports programs can compete for their university. But in order to be eligible, students have to meet the same high academic standards as other student athletes.
You have to maintain a certain GPA. You shouldn't be playing constantly. You should have like a certain time frame and like practice for like 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day. You shouldn't be just like overwhelming yourself.
Care about your grades first and foremost. As Dr. Haskell said, he cares about our grades first because we came to college to get an education, to get a degree, and then we also get to do what we love and play esports.
Athletics and other university-sanctioned activities bind students together with purpose, a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself, where we learn to work hard, play a role, lose with dignity, win with honor, all for our school. This is why we play.
Hello and welcome back to the Boise State Esports page. Fish and Brenner Bear here for some Rainbow Six Siege action on Friday. We just saw Boise State take down Champlain College, but they have another one ahead of them, and it is, as you can see there on the bottom, versus the Banana Slugs, probably the most unique mascot in all of college athletics. Santa Cruz, University of California, Santa Cruz, the Banana Slug. So before we get to anything about Rainbow Six, I think we have to talk about whether or not a Banana Slug is a really, really cool or really, really lame mascot.
It's lame because it's a slug, and it's cool because it's a helpful slug for stinging nettles.
There you go. So I guess it's a combination.
Yeah. That's my take on it, at least. But they are definitely a nuisance sometimes because they're huge. So if you step on them, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, nobody likes slugs. But before we get to Rainbow Six, it is always a little painful to see our very awesome gaming cabinet that unfortunately is sort of locked away right now at the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Of course, the whole social distancing going on right now, so everyone staying home. You can see they're very sad to see that just empty, but very awesome that our production crew has found a way to work without that insane setup. I don't even want to imagine what our production team's houses look like right now. And it's also very cool that our players are able to win without their sick gaming chairs, because those gaming chairs obviously make you a better player. Am I right, Brenner Bear?
I mean, I'm sitting in one right now, and it's making me a better caster right now.
Wow, I guess that just means I am chopped liver without my gaming chair, right? Maybe I know.
No,
where
you
my,
got all the experience. I got all the gear. That's how it works.
There we go. I was gonna say, do I have to really wait for my my government money to buy a nice DX racer? But that is an awesome picture, by the way. Boise State, as you can see, versus the Banana Slugs. If you can make a Banana Slug fierce, that might be the only way you could do it. That is a sick picture. That is a ripped Banana Slug as well.
He's very, very ripped.
So we are going to head into the game here. We already saw Boise State take down Champlain. Now they're going up against Santa Cruz. So just on the first game, on the first round, I should say, what are you looking for from either team here as we are on Villa? Is there anything you're trying to see from how a team plays on that might give away how they'll play the rest of the game?
I'm very interested to see how Santa Cruz handles BSU's aggressiveness. We saw them being totally aggressive, absolutely running over Champlain last game, and now I'm curious to see how Santa Cruz combats this and if they play more defensive or more aggressive to combat it.
As we see here at the bans, any bans you're expecting from Santa Cruz or Boise State?
Definitely the Thatcher again, because they play very much into anti-hard breaching. And then also a Mira ban here as well. So there's the Thatcher ban I was hoping for. And I'm curious if Boise State bans out the Mira or decides to ban out a different op.
And for Santa Cruz, obviously, they didn't see Boise State in our last game that we saw. So what can you take away from what a team bans? Does that give you any sort of insight into how they're going to play? Is there anything Santa Cruz can really sort of put in their back pocket with the Thatcher and the Mira banned away? Or is that maybe just they don't like those, maybe we would have banned them too kind of things?
I think it's definitely we would have banned them too, but the people Santa Cruz is banning is interesting because they banned the Jackal, who is very much a anti-roamer op. So that tells me that Santa Cruz definitely wants to roam a little bit more. And they also banned the Echo, which means they don't want to have to deal with his pesky little yokai drones, which could deny a diffuser plant on site.
See, there we are back on Villa, the map you talked about where everyone really prefers the second floor there. And do you think that any sort of comp you're expecting from Santa Cruz now that you've seen their bans and you know that it's a second floor bomb site?
With this Jackal ban, I wouldn't be surprised if they go dual roamers here with the Jaeger and possibly the Doc for sure. Oh, Pulse now. Because they denied that Jackal pick, which Boise hasn't played before. So I'm interested to see how Boise handles this dual roamer, assuming they go for it. They also have the VAP cams and the mute to deny the drones, but it looks like they might go for a 6 pick here and swap out the Pulse for a Maestro for more camera and more viewing angles.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
And then as we look at Boise State, is there anything that their comp, is that still support your whole aggressive theory you've talked about, or do you see something else from the comp they picked?
For Boise State, I see them probably going the same strat they ran last game. They're running the same ops as well here, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take over the secondary site that the Santa Cruz decided not to pick, and then just clean up both the roamers that
10 seconds
Santa
left
Cruz
before
might
insertion.
run. It looks like the Mute and Valkyrie are going to be the roamers, possibly,
seconds to
unless
insertion.
Valkyrie's just setting up her cams. Mute is definitely roaming because he's running to that master bedroom.
Attackers' objective
So
is
if
to
Boise
defuse
decides
the
to
bomb.
push there, he will be vital in taking that site. And it
from
looks
what you
like
saw
Fox
from
was
the-
able to spot a roamer just now.
From what you saw from the Santa Cruz defense there, how do you think Boise State could best go about attacking this?
Probably the same way they did last time, which is playing aggressive enough to where they just overwhelm the Santa Cruz defense team and just run right over them. So I'm very interested to see how Santa Cruz holds up against them. And it looks like this Jaeger is going to be spotted by 2 drones, so he's going to have to rotate positions and let Boise State push that side.
Drone's ready.
There's Valk taken out by Danny there playing the IQ. Danny is down to probably about 5 HP there, so he's next to one shot, so he should be very scared of that Maestro, because those cams can down you. It looks like he put all of his cams upstairs, so he should be safe for this short while as they begin to set up this safe area for their squad with the gridlock.
Yeah, and I would
They're
ask,
gonna go looking through the forwards.
how effective can Danny be with that low HP and the Maestro cameras out there? How, since they do, you did say they can't down you, so how much usefulness can he provide them, knowing that he could be downed around any corner?
I would say it just makes him play a little bit more careful, but he can still do as much as the rest of his team. He just has to play definitely careful, and he doesn't have the diffuser, so he doesn't have to worry about, getting picked off really early on in a firefight, and then his team has to go recover the diffuser. And he did bring IQ's LMG with him, so he can definitely do covering fire rather than just go for kills here, if need be. And we're going to see this Thermite pushing onto the A site as they took control of the front room right outside Aviator. He's moving to the hallway. There is a Valk cam in that hallway unless they got it already, so they might be scouted out here. We're seeing Hibana as well, destroying that wall into Vault, seeing if she could look and see if anyone's hiding in there. As a rotation, we see Danny push up, get the headshot off, but immediately eliminated right back. And they did get the diffuser off as well, as they are covering through the ground, and we don't see Santa Cruz looking for the ground peak either. 2v1 situation here, as Mute tries to get to that diffuser. He is down to 20-second timer. And he is taken out by the Boise State as they defend the diffuser. Once again, that gridlock on first floor, just having control, being able to cover it through the floor, was a vital win for Boise State.
So I have to ask you there, Brenner Bear, how did that, remember, I think it was Juco, how did he get into the bomb site with 2 members of Santa Cruz there and be able to plant it and nobody able to detect him? How was he able to pull that off?
I think that comes to the fault of Santa Cruz not having control of the site with as many cams as they had, or being able to identify that, hey, Boise opened this wall and they are on site. We need to collapse on them, and they just did not have that with how many members were dead and they had their focus just somewhere else.
I want to give a shout out to Glenn Fitch in chat. He said wishing Boise State luck from Mountain Home and said he was watching with his 17-year-old son who plays that game. So that's always fun to see the younger generation teaching the older generation there is more than just
Attackers
Pong
need
and
to locate
Gallica as we
defuse
saw
as many
earlier.
bombs as they can.
Yeah, it's always a nice thing to hear about.
So I will say, as we see here, Santa Cruz, what can they do differently to maybe watch out for that sneak plant, or how can they just maybe be a little bit more solid this round?
Bomb located
So
by
this round
attackers.
they went with the Bandit and the Smoke over the last 2 picks last round. So Bandit can set up that electricity and deny the hard breach unless they get rid of his batteries. And then they also have the Smoke, who can delay the fight with his smoke bombs. He'll just smoke out an area, and for you to run through it, you'll lose some of your HP. So it is a very much hard hold, it looks like here,
Attackers' objective is to defuse the
for
bomb.
Santa Cruz defense. And it looks like Boise State went the exact same attacking team, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go for the same strat again because it worked out for them. They'll just take that first floor and then push into bomb site. They do spot the Jaeger roaming in vault, so they'll have to keep an eye out for him as they immediately take him out.
And I would have to ask,
So
as
that-
someone who does play decent bit of Call of Duty, is drop shotting a thing in this game? I know in Call of Duty, of course, you go prone right as you shoot to make it a little harder. Is that a thing, or is it a little harder to go prone in this game as you're shooting?
You cannot. Drop shotting is only hip fire. So if you drop down, you can only hip fire. You cannot ADS until you hit the ground. All right, this is a huge moment for Santa Cruz. They take out the Gridlock, who has been opening the holes in the floor, which allowed Boise State to get the
located by
win last
attackers.
time, protecting that diffuser. And we see Danny immediately avenge him. But now Boise State's going to have to change up their strategy from last game and just defend the site rather than defend it from down below.
Bomb located.
All right, and we see Danny with IQ immediately taking out those batteries, doing his job as the IQ.
And I could pass. I know we saw this with Doc being able to, as we see a good pick off screen by Shirt, with Doc being able to see the heart pulse, and with IQ being able to see the electronics. How do you counter characters like this that have the ability to sort of see through the wall, and they can take out either you or your electronics, and you have no idea where they are?
So at that point you would find out where they are. So you know IQ's on the first floor because she's shooting up above. So you know she's roaming around the first floor, which is just one less person on site to worry about. And she can't spot people, only the gadget. So if you go on your phone to view cams, she can see that you're on your phone, and then she can shoot at you. But there's also people like the Thatcher, who is commonly banned, who just disables gadgets entirely, which is why he's almost always banned, because he has the EMP grenades. And here we see Boise State win the round as they clean up the members of Santa Cruz.
Really feels like Boise State's done a great job sort of controlling the tempo here as the attackers, which to me feels uncommon because I do think the defense has a bit of advantage with the time. So what has Boise State been doing well in these first 2 rounds?
They've been really well dealing with the roamers that Santa Cruz has been putting out. They scout him out and then collapse on his position. They've been doing really well just gaining map control of the areas that they want and then utilizing them. Yeah, can't speak. It's fine.
And I guess let's look at the team for Santa Cruz here. Is there anything different you see on their defensive side here that might be able to turn the tides back in their favor?
They went a different roamer with the Vigil, who once again can just make himself invisible to cameras.
Attackers need
You'll
to
just
locate
see
and
the little
defuse bombs.
white lines along the camera saying, you know, he's in this area, but you don't know where. So that could be very powerful for them if they get value out of his capabilities to get an early pick or 2. And then also we see on the Boise State side, they swap out the Hibana for the Sludge, who's more of a soft breacher than a hard breacher. But he is also faster. So I'm curious to see how they utilized him in this new objective site that Santa Cruz has decided to go for.
10 seconds left.
And as someone who's still new to the game, what is the difference between a hard breacher and a soft breacher? I'm assuming a hard breacher may be more explosives, but I could be completely off base there.
Attacker's objective is to locate a
So the
bomb
difference
and
is
defuse
soft breachers can go through walls that aren't reinforced or like the just typical wood barriers that every defender can put up, whereas a hard breacher can go through metal as well as things like the deployable shields or destroy maestro cams that are bulletproof.
And I'm assuming by go through you mean destroy, obviously, not just sort of walk through a solid
sorry.
wall. No,
I mean,
I just wanna
maybe
make
someday
sure.
they'll come out with that. I'd be very surprised.
That might take the semi-sense of realism in this game and throw it right out the window. As we do
I mean, they
Boise
do
State
have an
attack-
operator who can just Kool-Aid man through a wall and just, oh yeah, but it has to be a soft wall, not a hard wall.
Hey, the Kool-Aid Man is realistic. I don't know what you're talking about there, Redder Bear, but what do you see from the defense here of Santa Cruz that Boise State can exploit?
That there's not, it doesn't seem that there's very many people on site for the Santa Cruz team. They have the Maestro, who is using his cam to get rid of the drones, but he also scouts out Danny as the IQ, who is pushing in through bedroom, but he manages to get eliminated from the other side of the site through the rotation hole that they ended up opening, as he was not aware that they pushed in that much, as Boise State is already on the B site and they immediately lose Fox to that smoke or mute, one or the other. And then Danny goes down as well to the smoke as they immediately even up the scoreboard. But it looks like DSU is going to get the plant onto the site, but Santa Cruz is going to get 2 of the eliminations as they are defusing, so it is all down to Sherb to defend that diffuser, and he gets it. So now it is a 1v1 with Sherb. Have a quad right now, so he's going to get the ace if he manages to defend this and pull out the win for the Boise State team. Looking for each other. Bring around the Rosie right about now. And it looks like Santa Cruz is going to be able to get the diffuser. Hopefully he has enough time. He had 7 seconds when he started.
Defenders disabled the
And the
diffuser.
0.1 second left for Santa Cruz to get that diffuser.
Now, I don't want to, make it seem like Sherb had a misplay, because he did have a quad kill, but do you think he could have done anything better there? Or is it just the fact that he was so low, all he could really do was hope that he got the first shot on the guy?
I think he could have held a different position because he was wide open to that door where the member of Santa Cruz pushed right in and he was just crouched in the corner. He could have had a different angle where he would have been more protected and had a better sightline on the objective. But still,
And
both great plays by both sides on that round.
And how would you rate how Boise State did that round? Do you think they I guess how would you rate that? Even though I know they lost, it was by 0.1 second, as you said. So you think they did a good job, or you think they could have improved on a couple of things?
I think the main thing that I noticed that they could have improved on is when the one member of Santa Cruz got the double headshot elimination on the team because they were so close together. I think after they got the diffuser, they should have spread out a little bit so they could have denied that and played a little bit safer there. I think they just went a bit too fast after they got that diffuser off, and that's what cost them the round there.
And it does look like we've got a couple of switches on the team comp, so let's start with Santa Cruz. When you see what their team is there anything that they maybe give away with how they want to defend this round?
It definitely looks like a hard hold here, like they don't want to leave sight with both the Clash and the Goyo, blocking off those doorways, getting the intel without getting picked off with the Clash. I'm interested to see how they play this, and the Mozzie knows they're going to go for that vault because they've been playing it every time, so he's immediately putting his pests everywhere to catch their drones as they look for the possible roamer that Mozzie might be. So I'm interested to see how Boise State approaches this now that they have the Montag, who is definitely the hard pusher for their team here. And they also went with the Capital, so it looks like they might try to burn them out as well, or use the smoke to plant, as they've done in the previous matchup that we saw.
And I do just want to point out, we briefly saw one of the craziest things I think in Siege, where you can rappel up and then shoot upside down. I still don't understand how anyone's able to aim while shooting upside down.
I personally cannot do it because it also reverses your controls. So if you press up, you'll just keep going up. It's really confusing for me, so I personally cannot do it. But our Boise State R6 team is better than I, so they can pull it off. So more power to them. And we see this Clash immediately finds the Monty, and she can damage him through the shield because it's electricity and he's holding a metal shield. But we see the Capitao waste both of his fires trying to kill this Clash, as she is able to just back out and only take half her HP and damage from the Capitao fire.
So, as you were talking about the Clash being able to use the electricity on the Monty, was that just a lucky counter, or how do you think that ended up working out that they got the Clash off with the Monty there?
I think that's 100% just lucky counter for them. Clash is very strong. Whenever I play, I always ban her because she's the bane of my existence, but the Monty Clash matchup is always just a fun thing to watch because he's a very tanky character. He has, the 3 armor and a full shield, so he can take a lot of bullets. And then she's just electrocuting him the whole time. So it's always a funny matchup to watch and enjoy. So I'm curious to see how it plays out as we see the Jaeger pushing up through Astral, the second site behind the Boise State members, but they immediately scout him out unless that was the Mozzie drone. So I'm curious to see how this plays out for the team, but immediately we see the Goyo take out a member of the Boise State team, making... Oh, but Boise also evens it out by taking out the Jaeger with the Hibana. Clash trying to get him lowered down with her electricity. And we see Danny push onto the bar site, taking out the Capitao. I mean, not Capitao, sorry. Maestro. And we see them immediately plant at the same site that they were before on bar.
Attackers are activating the bomb.
We see Danny falls to the Goyo, I believe. It was a 2v1, but since Monty is still on the site, we have to see if this Goyo can take out both the Monty and the Gridlock with the remaining health that they both have. And Goyo is taking that damage through the Gridlock, and he gets taken out by the Gridlock because she heard him running through her traps.
So where do you think the swing was in that round for Boise State? Where do you think they really started to get the advantage? Because it really felt like it was back and forth until they maybe planted the bomb, but maybe you saw something that I didn't.
I think the main thing there was Danny pushing onto site and getting that Maestro and just taking control behind bar. That immediately put Santa Cruz on the back foot with Goyo not being on site to help defend. He was able to then take out two members of the Boise State did then fall. I don't know if they both fell to Goyo or not, but immediately evened out the playing field for the team. But with Goyo being the last surviving member, he did not have the advantage because that left Boise to defend the site, and he also led into the trap of the Gridlock, so they could hear him coming from a mile away. So I definitely think that came the fall of them just not holding site well enough to counter the rushing Danny Storm that was IQ.
You are watching Collegiate Rainbow's 6th League. Boise State taking on Santa Cruz. University of California, Santa Cruz, the Banana Slugs. Definitely a favorite mascot of a lot of people here. Boise State, as you can see, leading 3-1. So what do the Broncos need to keep doing? Do you think they need to change up their strategy? It's been a couple of close wins, or do you like what they're doing even if they're not getting the flawless victories we were accustomed to in the first match?
I really do like what they're doing. They're playing very aggressively. They're playing to their strengths. Danny's getting a ton of value of being able to rush in and just click the heads better than anyone else ever could. He's taught me, and I'm still learning. So I know he can do it, and I know that the rest of the Boise State team can keep pulling out the victories as they have been through this matchup. Santa Cruz has also been doing really well. They always come down to the 1v2s or something, so they're still getting the picks, and they're still playing very well. And it looks like Boise did decide to swap up as well.
I was going to ask, with the Monty on Boise State's side, do you think they're going to run the the similar strategy of basically trying to get to the bomb and then use the Monty, hopefully to sort of cover for the guy planting the diffuser and sort of just have those two sit on the bomb?
I think that's exactly what they're going to do, because they swapped their team composition here with the Nomad and the Lion here. So Lion will ping anyone who's moving when he activates his drone that he has in the sky. And then we have the Nomad, who has her repulsion air jab sticky things that stick to any surface, that when someone gets it within the radius, it knocks them back. So that could be something that they try to counter the clash or protect the bomb with. So if someone tries to go in for the defuse, you stick an air jab on it, and it'll knock them away, unless you know, hey, someone's going for the defuse, we need to collapse on this person. So I'm interested to see how Boise State decides to push this, as they have two across the map, and we have the Gridlock pushing in that one window, and we see the Monty pinging people through his little peekle that he's made on balcony. As Capital also peeks through the window, see as he can't get a cheeky pick or two based off the angles. Santa Cruz also just holding angles, playing very slowly. We see the Mute holding downstairs, waiting for them to push the vault as they have been in previous rounds. But as of right now, they aren't anywhere near him.
So how do you think Boise State wins this? Because this is definitely a much slower round than we're used to. It's still 5-5, and there's just over a minute left.
If I was on the Boise State team right now, I would definitely just be like, okay, how can we approach this and what can we do? Sadly, they lose Fox to Monstrosity, as he was the Jaeger peeking on the stairs and just managed to get a quick pick, and so they have to send the Monty to just scout it out and not allow it to happen again. So that definitely puts Boise on the back foot, as they are down 2 members right now, as Sherb was picked off by the Mute, not the Mute, sorry, the someone.
Bomb has been located.
Faster pace than I can speak. And it looks like Boise State's going to be pushing onto that B site as well, as they keep the Lion looking out for that Jaeger. And here he comes, and they expected it, so good on them. Sadly, the Monty did end up going down, and it looks like Danny is up against the clutch as she slowly takes him down with her electricity. And it looks like he'll take out her feet by meleeing her shield. So Danny has to go for the plant here. They don't have enough time. So it comes down to Ultrascent laying down fire for Danny so he can plant, but he does end up getting the pick, but they clean it up, and Danny doesn't even have to plant. They win the round based off eliminations from their aggressiveness.
And something I just want to make sure I clarify, and there may be someone else in the chat, it looked like even though the time hit 0, since Danny was in the act of planting, the game extends until his plant finishes. Am I correct in that?
Correct. It's like standing on the payload in Overwatch to extend the overtime. If you're planting, the timer just keeps going until you finish the plant, and then you go into the overtime extended of defusing the bomb or not.
Boise State. It feels like Boise State has just been the more adaptive team, because they've been able to maybe be a little bit more rush heavy, but they're able to stall that out all the way until the very end. So do you agree with my sort of assertion that Boise State's just maybe been a bit more flexible than Santa Cruz?
They definitely have been. They've definitely been adapting to their situation of just like, okay, we have this many people alive, what can we do with this, and how can we counter their remaining ops and where they are? What resources do we have that we can use to pull out a victory for this round?
Need to locate and defuse bombs.
And I am really curious. I know Boise State won back-to-back rounds with the Monty, but they didn't pick it this time. Do you think that's just a case of maybe they're expecting Santa Cruz to expect a more Monty slow-style gameplay, so that's why they went without the Monty? Because they felt like they've been doing really well with that sort of shield, sort of that almost pseudo-tank that you might see in other games.
I think Boise switched out their composition for 2 reasons. Because they went to a different bomb site, so they expected that, and Monty got picked off kind of early on in the last round. You know, he did get a melee elimination, but then he was also immediately eliminated by another member of Santa Cruz. So I think they just decided, alright, you got picked off, what else can we do for a different site if they choose to go it that we feel comfortable with? So they decided to swap up to their more traditional comp that we've seen them been running.
So looking at the so go ahead.
So one thing I noticed the defenders have is they went Capcan. Capcan lays traps on every door and window. He has 5 of them, and you can place them in either the middle, the bottom, or the far low of the door. But since Boise has the IQ, I'm curious if they'll spot it out or not, because they know that they have IQ, or they know that they have Capcan because they droned it out. So I'm curious how this plays out for both sides, as Santa Cruz went pretty trap heavy with both the smoke, the Capcan, and the Legion. So it looks like they're trying to slow down the Boise push, just bogging him down with all the traps they possibly can. It looks like Danny's going to try to enter through the master bedroom as well, opening up all the windows to get a possible peek and quick elim. But it looks like Sherp did get picked off. I didn't even notice that. That's too bad. As Juco uses all of his flashbangs to get rid of that Jaeger drone, so they can throw a grenade and get rid of some of those electricity traps that are blocking off that wall. Legion knows they're there, trying to...
I know you're talking about all the traps that Santa Cruz had, so how does Boise State deal with all those traps?
It's definitely playing slow and using IQ's ability to see where they are and getting rid of them so Boise State can push through. Because if they push through without getting rid of them, they're going to take a lot of damage and give away a lot of positions. And it looks like smokes end up going to just smoke out that wall so they cannot push through because it's going to last for a decent amount of time. As Boise State pushes through the bathroom and ends up getting a pick onto the smoke, evening up the teams. Looks like that Jaeger's then going to get a pick onto Juco, their hard breacher. That is a hard loss for the Boise State team. They're not allowed to go through those metal walls anymore. But Danny is immediately going to avenge him by getting an elimination onto the bandit.
And is that elimination even more huge on the Juco because he did drop the diffuser as well? I guess it was huge until Danny picked up a triple kill.
Yeah, Danny's just clicking heads real quick as they push onto site to get revenge for his fallen teammates. But they immediately picked up the diffuser, started the plant, and just cleaned shop. Danny, once again, on the attack, just out-aggressing the enemy team.
And now that they're going to swap, is there anything Boise State can take away with what they learned against Santa Cruz? I know they did a really good job winning 5 of the 6 rounds. Is there anything they can take away to maybe predict how the Banana Slugs are going to attack here?
I would say based off of their previous defenses, they like holding kind of hard. They did both the traps and then the Goyo and Clash and Maestro. So I think they're a bit of a slower play team is what I would see in the Boise Sense State, but we never know until we get into the round. And with Santa Cruz taking the Kali and Buck, which is a lot of longer range ops, as well as the Buck shotgun and the Kali gadget, which can destroy items on the other side of reinforced walls, and they went double hard breacher with the Habana Thermite, they might go just full on site and try to just get the plan off.
So if you're Boise State, how would you set up here with your defenses? What would you be preparing for if you are the Broncos?
I would definitely play to your strengths of you have the Doc run out again, which they've never seen before because it is the first time Boise is defending, and Santa Cruz never did a run out of their own. So I'm curious to see how they handle the BSU just aggressiveness that they've been playing in the previous match that we saw.
10 seconds to insertion. 5 seconds to insertion.
It looks like Santa Cruz does know where they are, so they're going to leave their drones outside and look for the run out in case it does happen. So I'm curious to see how they play this out. They do see enemy detected outside, so they know someone is looking for the peak. But it looks like Doc wasn't able to see anybody, so he's going to run back to site. It's good on Santa Cruz for not playing that side of the map, though.
Does Boise really lose much for trying for that early pick? I mean, I know they get the enemy detected, but besides that, is there really any downside for the Broncos looking for that?
I think it just makes the enemy team more aware to be look out for like peeks through the windows or runouts in general, because they're just like, oh, they attempted this already, they could do it again. And we see the Buck get a pick on Danny, who was their roamer on the first floor, so that does give them a lot of control now, and it makes it a 4v5. We see Thermite take a little bit of poke there as they begin to push into the master bedroom.
Drone activated.
A bomb has been located.
So I know we talked about Boise State being down a member. I was going to say, what did they do to get back in it besides, you know, get a pick? But they just answered that question for me, I guess.
Yeah, they're acting fast. They're acting fast for sure. And they did get the Habana as well, so that's one less hard breacher for Santa Cruz's side. That just means they have to play a little bit more safer with that Thermite if they still want to go through that hard wall. Boise State's also looking towards the first floor because they know the Buck's there, and so they're just looking at each other, waiting for one to peek the other.
Can't tell if the classical music perfectly sets the scene or is the most inappropriate choice of music for this. I honestly cannot tell. It's almost a bit of both.
There's worse music on other maps, so I'd rather have the classical music. And we do see the Doc and Capitao engage right off B site, but they manage to break apart and Doc backs up. We do see Monstrosity finally get the pick onto the Cade from his little peek hole through the floor. So that gives the Santa Cruz team another layer to breach through because they no longer have the Cade to reinforce those walls with his electricity traps. So we see Santa Cruz slowly begin to push into sight, getting rid of that barbed wire just so they don't get slowed down. But they know one's there because they shot the drone.
15 seconds left.
And this puts Santa Cruz into a bit of a panic as they don't have time.
Attackers
So
have dropped the
3v2,
bomb.
they begin the plant, but he gets picked off. And that is going to be it. Boise State managing to hold him off until the very last second.
It was a fantastic end of round replay there, just staring at a couch. Well, Boise State's on match point, so is that just the case of Santa Cruz just maybe moving a little bit too slowly there, maybe being almost too cautious?
I think once they got the pick on the Cade, they should have played a little bit more aggressively because they knew where some of the members of Boise State were, but they just failed to click on heads better than the Boise State Broncos could.
Ah, yes, the clicking on head strat. We were talking, by the way, about going for that early pick, and somebody in chat did point out that the downside is you're a free kill on the Boise State side if they sprint from the main road and look upward. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Then I guess if you're looking at the same person, though, it comes down to that whole clicking head ability we've talked about, Brenner Bear. That seems to be the skill gap here, is
Yeah.
can you click heads or not?
Definitely at higher play, it definitely comes down to both your map knowledge and your aim. Aim is 100% what matters. Because if you can't aim, you gotta do something else. Alright, and we
I
see
was gonna-
Boise... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I can save my question.
I was just saying, we see Boise State go with the smoke as well as a bit of more of a hard holder to prevent entry through a certain doorway or what else. And then we see Santa Cruz go with the exact same comp, I think. I think the IQ might be different, but they're going, once again, pretty double hard breacher. Yeah, they switched out the Kali for the IQ, that's right. So I'm curious to see how they approach this site as Boise State also swapped sites because they won.
5 seconds to go.
So for Boise State, and what are you seeing here from their defense, and how could Santa Cruz attack it to start getting on the winning train here and not to lose so quickly?
I would say definitely get control of the first floor. We saw that Mozzie open the hatch and drop down, so that's something Santa Cruz has to be aware of, is that they have that rotation hole. And so if they drop down there, how can we handle it? Just watch stairs. So I'm curious to see how this plays out for this Boise State crew, as well as Santa Cruz. A lot of crews.
Yeah, there's a lot of crews, a banana slug. I'm just concerned about the banana slug, honestly. Could get stepped on
All right,
in
we
a
do
map like this. So small.
Yeah, that would. New operator, banana slugs.
Planting toxin.
And we do see the Mozzie get the pick on the Buck, which was a big deal because he did get a double elimination last round through the floor. But we
Bomb
see them
located by
immediately
attacker.
answer, removing the Jaeger. So once again, we are evened up as the remaining members of Boise State are both on site and directly below. So they are looking out for that Mozzie who has been roaming around first floor, so it is something they have to worry about. They know IQ's in the room as she has been destroying some of their gadgets, but she's going to claymore it up, so they cannot push through that door.
Deploying drone.
So I know last round Santa Cruz ran out of time, so when are you looking for them to start pushing to the bomb? Is there a certain time mark, maybe a minute, 45 seconds, that you're really saying, all right, this is when they need to go, go, go?
Yeah, between a minute and 30 seconds remaining. 30 seconds is like pushing it hard. At least 45 seconds left is when you're like, all right, we have to get on bomb site now. Whereas Boise State just wants to delay them as long as possible, especially with this Mozzie through the floor.
RID active! Sweeping perimeter! Bomb located! Dart loaded.
We do see the Thermite go down to half health as he runs for the bomb site. Danny right next to him as they go for the wall. He definitely heard that. So he's going to have to relocate behind the bar and try to hold the position. He's going to smoke it out so they cannot push through it, which again delays them more time. Santa Cruz here has to start thinking, how can we engage this and push it? And with that Capitao clearing out B, Santa Cruz needs to rotate around or take out Danny, who's behind the bar, if they want to take the round. They do manage to take out Danny, so they're definitely going to push the bar. But they managed to pull it out with the final member of Boise State being picked off, running away. Great job by Santa Cruz, just managing to pull it out final time.
What do you think went wrong for Boise State there? Because it felt like Santa Cruz once again just waited too long, maybe got a bit lucky that they were able to get all the eliminations. So where do you think things went wrong for Boise State?
I think it was once the Legion peeked the Capitao and got injured. Once he was down, they lost control of B site, so they had to turn around, and their attention was split between two spots, and that's what cost them the round. Because then the Cade had to turn, deal with the Capitao, and then got shot from behind.
As we see the teams here for both sides, Boise State sticking on match point. Anything catch your eye here?
They swapped out the Capitao for the Gridlock. Capitao did work out for them quite well, but I think they're more afraid of the Mozzie roaming from stairs, which is why they would go the Gridlock and Nomad to kind of counter his roaming capabilities. So I'm interested to see how actually much slower they're going to play, because they also have the Cali to deal with the electricity that Boise State's been dishing out for their reinforcements.
Yeah, I am really curious to see how quickly Santa Cruz plays. It definitely feels like they are right on that edge of almost playing too slow to really be much of a problem for Boise State. So I am curious to see if they're going to speed it up at all.
My guess is they probably play slow in the beginning, but once it's like the 30-second mark, they'll speed it up a ton just to throw the Boise State crew off. Because if they're just holding the site the entire time and just waiting for him to push in, and as time gets closer, they expect it, but then the whole team rushes through, I think that catches them off guard. And we see the game collapse. As we had some technical difficulties with the enemy team.
Yeah, it looked like somebody had disconnected on the enemy team there, so they both sides agreed to go with the rehost there. So you can see the standings in Boise State off to a great start there, off to a 3-0 start with a ton of other teams, including some familiar names, San Diego State, another Mountain West team. So you could definitely see Boise State one of the stronger Rainbow Six teams, at least in this this tournament.
Collegiate series. Yeah.
Yeah, the collegiate series. There we go.
We got it.
Now it looks like everything.
All right, and we're all back. 6-2 now. Is that what it was before?
looks like-
Lost track.
Yes, it was 6-2. Yeah, they had Santa Cruz at just won. So
Okay.
the only thing I think we'll be missing is the stats, unfortunately, at the end. But everything else seems the
That's
same.
all right.
I'm guessing they would go with the same teams, but I'm not sure. I think
They
they look like the
did
same
not
as-
at all.
Did they?
The attackers teams went with Capitao and Zofia instead of the Gridlock and Kali this time. But it looks like Zofia's going to go back to Kali, so they just won't have the Gridlock this time. But Boise defense
Interesting.
looks to be the same.
I would have thought in a scenario where everyone had connected, they would have maybe picked the same team. But you know what? Hey, whatever works. Maybe they say that he disconnected before everyone locked in. But so with the swaps, anything different from what you pointed out last time for Santa Cruz, since they did maybe take off that gridlock that you pointed out?
I think with the Gridlock and Capitao, they'll just use the Capitao to get rid of the electricity in case they thought that Boise would change up their comp to be more anchor heavy rather than roaming. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. They'll still have the LMG. Oh, he decided not to go with the LMG that Gridlock normally has. So that is just less firepower on their side, but they also have the Claymore as well to deny the roamer from the Capitao. So I wouldn't be surprised if almost anything changes from their previous strategy.
And I hear you talking about how they pick certain guns. As someone who is newer to Siege, what does that mean? Does each operator have a couple different guns they're allowed to pick from, or how does that all work?
So each operator does have their own set of guns that they can choose from. So for Nomad, who we're looking at, she has two different guns. She has more of like a marksman assault rifle, which has only 21 bullets, but it does more damage and a slower rate of fire. Whereas she has her AK-74, which has 41 bullets, does less damage but a higher rate of fire. So it just comes down to like your playstyle and what you like. Same with Kali's. She only has her sniper rifle, but she has either a pistol or a fully automatic pistol. So it totally comes down to what guns you prefer and what you can get value out of. Some operators have a shotgun, some have, you know, an LMG or an SMG. There's different types of shotguns of like pump, semi-automatic, or even a fully automatic one for that matter. And then you have people like Buck who just have 2 and 1. So you got a wide variety of however you'd like to play.
I do enjoy the customization there of being able to, at least a little bit of, obviously, you know, you can't, not as much customization as some other games. I do like the ability to maybe pick and choose what's best for the map situation, etc. So I am a big fan of that. And I know you also had talked about covering fire. Is that sort of where if you're shooting at someone, their screen gets a little blurry as the bullets zoom past, or what exactly is covering fire?
Personally, I use it to cover the sounds. So you'd have a teammate just start spamming fire so you can run up on the enemy and get an early elimination or to secure the round for you. Because if they can't hear you running up, they're not going to be looking towards you. They'll usually be looking to where the bullets are coming from and if they're going to hit them or not. You also see a lot of pre-firing too, so if you're going to peek an angle, you fire beforehand, so that way by the time you see someone, you're already firing.
Attacker's bomb diffuser has been dropped.
That's another good way of covering fire as well. And we see them immediately even each other out by taking out both the Mute and the Thermite, with Mozzie using the first floor strat of looking through the ground. And another member of the Boise State goes down to the Capitao, I believe. Callie droning into the bar. Capitao looking to push into B site. Both the Nomad and Capitao and Havana are on B. They don't have Diffuser though. Diffuser's on the other site. So we're going to have to see Santa Cruz plant and take the round, as the Mozzie was not able to get back to site on time to defend.
It looked like to me, and this was sort of an issue that we saw earlier against Champlain, where Boise State had those 2 roamers on the first floor, but it just felt like they never got much value from them, and by the time Santa Cruz got to the bomb, those roamers sort of were just out of position and not able to push up.
Yeah, and that's definitely the high risk, high reward with roamers, especially running more than one, that Boise State was risking that round for sure. But they did get the one initial pick with the Mozzie, so he had a little bit of value, but ended up costing him the game, or the round.
Yeah,
but it is still match point for Boise State.
Boise State, as you mentioned, still on match point, trying to snap a couple round losing streak there. And I am
you see
curious.
The 6th pick coming in
like...
for Danny as well.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about the 6th pick there.
Yeah, so he switched from Wamai to Pulse, which is interesting, which tells me that they don't really fear like grenade spam or anything, because Wamai is kind of an anti-throwable op, whereas Pulse is more of like locating them and possibly getting a pick from it. So that tells, and they also have the Jaeger, which fulfills that role better than Wamai can. Go ahead.
And walk me through the 6th pick there, just so I understand it. What exactly is the 6th pick? Can you see the enemy team when you make it? How exactly does the 6th pick work?
So 6th pick is usually after you guys, so it's like swapping in League. If you have your full set roster and you're like, well, actually, I think I played this person in this situation better than what we currently have planned. And since they already had the Jaeger, they didn't really need the Wamai to deny the grenade spam that they actually haven't seen from Santa Cruz just yet. So I think the 6th pick was actually really smart by Boise to go for the Pulse to get them more information on the team's whereabouts rather than protect the site from the potential flashbang or anything that could help the Santa Cruz team take control. And there is actually the Gridlock looking for a roamer in the basement, and Danny is down there, and he might spot her in just a second, but he turned it off. I'm curious what happens down below as the rest of Santa Cruz begins to push through master bedroom. But it looks like Gridlock's going to run out into garage and see if Danny will push her. I don't think he will, because he can see where she is.
Attackers have located a bomb.
So how soon does the Gridlock have to leave Danny to go help the rest of the team, or do you think they'll be confident saying, you guys win the 4v4 and I can keep Danny occupied?
I don't know if she knows he's there. They might have droned him out. We didn't see that part, but that's probably by at least the minute mark is when she'll either leave or guarantee that he won't be a problem for them. And here we see Nomad actually push into the bedroom as well with how low health she is. And Danny is leaving the basement, going to the first floor towards kitchen. And we do see Nomad is a quarter HP, so she is very low. And they find out that they do have the Jaeger, so they cannot get rid of that. And Maverick begins to open his little peek holes in the reinforcement. And Danny ends up getting the pick onto the Gridlock, so she did lose that fight. And yet he waits for another. Boise with the upper hand here. Santa Cruz down a member and a member at quarter HP. Just curious to see how they play the rest of this out. They do spot the Hibana in the bathroom. Looking to get their toes. They do end up getting rid of the entire reinforced wall, but they end up getting C4'd from, I believe, Danny underneath them, which is a great play by Danny.
And this really feels like Santa Cruz has just been taking too long. Every single round.
Yeah, they are definitely playing way too slow. After they lost the Gridlock, they know someone's underneath them, and they just are stuck in the bedroom right now. They have no way out unless they push into site, which they know will be death for their team. As we see immediately, Boise State eliminating 2 members of Santa Cruz, make that 3, leaving the last member to rush in with the diffuser and fall. Boise State winning the map.
Really good job. Even get the flawless round there, answering back with the couple of losses there. So it looks like they will move on now to match point, round point. I don't know what the overall... I know we have matches, we have rounds. There's so many different terminologies in this. The Boise State is on, I guess, game point, you could say, here against Santa Cruz. But, yeah, it really just feels like Santa Cruz maybe takes too long. It feels like every single round, you sort of talked about that 45-second sweet spot, and they're still just sort of trying to breach in at that 45-second mark.
Yeah. I think after they didn't destroy one of the walls soon enough because they were constantly getting poked at, it cost them the victory there because once they started to push in, they were just getting clean sweep because they only had the door to push through, which gave Boise State just one hallway to look through and clean them up.
So heading into the second map here, how does Boise State continue to, it is going to be on Cafe, how does Boise State continue to dominate? Like top, so Cafe is going to be the next map. I might have said that a little quickly, sometimes get a little excited, but yeah, how does Boise State continue to dominate in the way they did?
I think definitely holding back Santa Cruz, because with how slow they've been playing, unless they start picking it up, I think Boise State's going to keep winning. And Danny getting that pick on the gridlock as the roamer just also puts to the fact that they should be a little bit more anti-roamer than they currently are, and they don't have a lot of map control. They all pushed into one room and left the entire map up to gridlock, who then immediately got picked. So I think it comes down to Santa Cruz just being like, all right, we need to split up and conquer. Whereas they've just been pushing as a group through one door, and that hasn't been working for them.
You are watching Boise State versus the University of Santa Cruz, the Broncos versus almost everyone's favorite mascot in college athletics, the Banana Slugs. Here we are heading into the second map. Boise State is on round point there against the Banana Slugs, and I'll be very curious to see. You sort of talked about how the Banana Slugs maybe a bit too slow, putting too much reliance on certain players. So how do you speed things up? Because it really seems like they want to take things carefully. They want to be very calculated, but it is sort of that whole thing where they're running out of time. So how could you be maybe 20 seconds faster but still be as precise as the Banana Slugs have been?
I would take something out of Boise State's book, which is have one or two members on the other side of the map just start sprint clearing rooms. Drone it out, and then just start running and gunning. It's something that Boise State's been really well at doing, and also holding certain window angles that gets them value on rotations of the enemy team. That's something we saw in Villa a lot, where they would just hold a window, so if someone did rotate through it, they got picked off, or they were damaged, or something along the lines of that. Whereas Santa Cruz just has been holding tight and not really moving a lot. They need to be a bit lighter on their feet for sure.
You are watching Collegiate Rainbow Six Siege, Boise State, and the University of California, Santa Clara. Fish and Brenner Bear on the cast, and Boise State, as we mentioned, is on match point here, and I am really interested to see. I have been enjoying this, learning a lot about this game, so I'm excited, and it's a new map. So why don't you walk us through the map here as we get through the bands?
So Cafe is a 3-floor map that I wouldn't be surprised if they banned that Thatcher again. It's been a very helpful ban for both teams denying it, because it's very strong against the defenders. And then I wouldn't also expect to see a Mira. Mira is also a very good ban here. And then for the last two, I'm interested to see what Santa Cruz... So Santa Cruz took that Thatcher. I'm curious what Boise State picks here to counter that, because they've been banning that Thatcher. They end up banning the Kali, which Santa Cruz was running last time, so that could have been a targeted ban.
Yeah, I would assume that is a targeted ban. And what is something Kali would be strong that maybe Boise State would be wanting to get rid of with that targeted ban? Or do you think it was just a really good player that Boise State was targeting down?
I think it was just Callie's pretty strong on this map because she can shoot through soft walls and create a small hole as well. So anything they don't reinforce, she can immediately shoot through, as well as get rid of electricity on the other side of metal walls so that they could then be breached. So she's all around a good op to ban. And then we also see for the defenders, they banned Clash and Echo. those are the two preferred bans of when I play, because I hate Clash and Echo's a common nuisance that everyone doesn't like dealing with. So I'm not surprised by those bans at all here. Both are very strong on this map. But the fact that they didn't ban the mirror is going to be pretty pivotal if they don't pick it here, though, because they are going to go into Reading Room and Fireplace.
And what would you expect Boise State to be setting up here on this first round attacking?
Well, they picked the Jackal, which means they definitely want to go a breach and clear type method, because Jackal can find the footsteps, but it looks like they might 6-pick him out for the Monty. So they might swap it up and go a bit of a slower play because they have the Nomad to close those areas as well as the Gridlock. But it looks like Santa Cruz is going to swap out for their 6th pick the Goyo and Mira, who's very strong in this map. So I'm curious to see how this plays out with both the Monty and the Mira here. Because we haven't seen Mira yet because she's always been banned.
Let's say, do you think Boise State's going to end up regretting picking the Clash ban over the Mira ban?
Possibly. Clash was never an issue for them. She was a nuisance, but I don't think she was as big as a problem as Mira will cause. So I'm curious to see how they plan on dealing with this Mira. They don't have a Twitch or anything to get rid of Mira's one-way windows. So I'm very interested how they deal with this, as well as they also went Pulse and Wamai for roaming.
5 seconds to go.
And they also went Jaeger, so they're going hard grenade counter as well. So they don't want to get spammed out of a certain area from grenades. And Pulse will give them a lot of information, and they went mute to get rid of as many drones as they possibly can. So Santa Cruz might be going a pretty hard roamer team composition here versus Boise State's very aggressive playstyle. Boise State also looking for the peaks, because that is an incredibly common thing on this map, and incredibly annoying.
Changing mag! Reloading! Drone activated.
And from seeing Santa Cruz's defenses here, how would you recommend Boise State's attacks them? Or how would you say, what are the easy ways to access the bomb sites from what you've seen from Santa Cruz?
I would actually, personally, I would push through the first floor and clear out, because you know they have a ton of roamers from the little droning that they've done, but they're actually going top down from the 3rd floor. They both have the Monty, the Gridlock, and the Nomad on 3rd floor right now, and Monty actually spots one as well, with Pulse watching the Monty through the floor, but he doesn't know he's the Monty though. So I'm curious, if he takes the shot, will he be able to get value out of it?
Heartbeat sensor deployed.
And this is one of these operators that really makes me wonder, I mean, how do you counter a guy who's always able to see where you are right above you? I know there is a range on it, but it's not like you can just shut your heartbeat off.
No, so that's why everyone's banned Thatcher, because if you EMP it and it hits Pulse, he can't use it for a certain amount of time, which is a lot of value, and you get notified that you disabled his heart monitor. So that's another thing that you noticed, which is why everyone banned him. And we see the Wamai getting a ton of value, just completely destroying this Gridlock's idea of throwing her traps out to deny the stairs. So they deploy all the way back there because he deployed his gadget there, which magnetically attracts the item, and then it explodes it, or activates it at that point. So that Gridlock just lost a lot of her value there. And also Santa Cruz is down 2 members, I never noticed.
We did also have somebody in chat point out that you can counter Pulse by playing IQ. I guess that would make sense, because I do believe you mentioned how she can see electronics, so I guess that would help as well. But it doesn't look like Boise State has that, so they'll have to get around that fact, at least this round.
Yeah, Danny's usually the one who plays the IQ, and he decided to go Nomad. And he did end up getting the Pulse, but they did also lose Joko and Sherb for it. But Boise State manages to win the round with the Gridlock on site at very low health.
Just another good job by Boise State, starting off where they left off with the win. So now that you've seen both teams on this map, what are your takeaways from how, let's start with Boise State, how Boise State's attacking there? What maybe can we expect for the next 5 rounds?
I expect Boise to definitely look out for their roamers. They knew they had the pulse, and Danny did really well of cleaning up that pulse, but with their current team composition, they're going both Jackal and Nomad, which will close off a lot of areas, and Gridlock again. So against their roaming composition for Santa Cruz, I'm curious to see what they'll do to combat the very much anti-roamers that Boise State has gone with, because they also decided not to go with the Monty either, unless they're swapping out the Jackal for it right now, which they are. So, looks like they're going the exact same strat then. Okay.
If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
I mean, yeah, they won with it, so just play into them again. And it looks like Santa Cruz decided not to go with Pulse, but actually Legion this time to kind of annoy that Monty a little bit, because Boise State did not run the IQ, so she's not looking for his goo mines, which once he places are invisible. So I'm curious to see how they combat this Legion, and if he can get a lot of value from his goo traps or not.
No, I was just about to ask you how Santa Cruz can deal with the Monty for Boise State, and I guess in a sense break it, so Boise State does have to change, but it does seem like those goo mines might be the first step in sort of slowing down that Monty.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, because goo mines will deny his ability to sprint, and
Attackers are heading
it
out
ticks
to the
down for a certain time, and then you take damage from it. So unless you stop, pull it out, and for Monty to pull it out, he has to like make his shield not full length, and then on top of that, pull it out of his leg. So it gives you a lot of time to rush the Monty and take him out. And it looks like this mirror is going to be opening a lot of rotation holes for this site, denying them being able to hide on the side as well. And we're going to see this Wamai in bathroom peeking as well, with Legion trapping just outside of it so he knows if someone walks past him. Boise State again going for the third floor breach, as they've already gone into red stairs and nomading it up, waiting for roamers. Droning it out as well, trying to find that Wamai who's in the bathroom hiding. But they managed to notice that they have a Legion as he throws the goo mine right on top of the drone.
Are you a fan of how Boise State started this round, or do you think they could have gone with a bit better strategy?
I mean, it worked for them in the first time, so ain't broke, don't fix it, because the third floor, Santa Cruz hasn't been holding third floor as well as they should be. And here again, we see the Monty with the Legion trap having to take time to pull it out and then continue pushing it. So that just buys more time for Santa Cruz to whittle down that clock.
I was going to say, we saw a couple times with Santa Cruz going a little bit too slow, so what is the sweet spot? Is it still that 45 seconds for Boise State to start pushing?
With how aggressive Boise State pushing, I don't think they need to worry about time, but they are definitely getting value of playing together and clearing out third floor before they move to site. They know the last one up there is Wamai, but Danny ends up getting picked off by him, not being able to scout it out. So we see the last one, Monty pushing out that Wamai, pushing him towards the stairs so he can rotate back to site, and they now own third floor.
And it is a 2v3 with the Monty alive, so what does Boise State need to do in these last 40 seconds to come away with another victory here?
So Monty doesn't have Diffuser, so he can essentially play as a distraction while Gridlock tries to go in for the plant, is what I see the play as right now. But there is the Wamai going up the stairs, trying to get a pick from behind as Monstrosity gets the elimination onto Gridlock, and he ends up falling to the Jaeger.
So where do you think things went wrong there for Boise State?
Yeah,
I think you were answering my question as I asked it.
I was just a little bit too fast, but I think the problem there was they forgot. They either didn't know the Wamai was there on the third floor, and that's how Danny fell, because he didn't look to his left at all. I don't think they knew he was there. So I think that comes down to Boise State just not being aware that the floor was clear or not, and they just proceeded as if it was. And so I think it's going to come down to them just being better at scouting it out and then playing from there. Also, the Gridlock got picked off by herself, and she wasn't with the Monty, which is another fault I think that Boise State had that time. Santa Cruz just playing really defensively and really well.
And with the Mira there again, do you think Boise State's already regretting not banning Mira?
Mira actually hasn't been an issue for them yet because they haven't gotten to site. They usually die before they get to site because they had 3 roamers on 3rd floor before they could even get close to site. So I think Boise should actually focus more on the roamers than site. But it looks like Santa Cruz, because they won, they chose to go 3rd floor, which might play into Boise's hand because they've been pushing 3rd floor all game.
So then the question becomes, where does Boise State push now with the bombs on 3rd floor?
I think once they scout it out, they're going to have to go from 1st floor up because those roamers have been the main issue for the BSU team.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Unless they think they can take at least
10 seconds left.
lounge and then push into site, but I'm curious how they're going to do that with the amount of traps that Santa Cruz has.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
And now that you've seen how Santa Cruz sets up here, what would you recommend Boise State? How would you recommend them go about this bomb? These bomb sites, I guess I should say.
With the roamers being the issues, I would go from the down up. Clear out the 1st floor, clear out the 2nd floor. It's going to take time, and so that's going to mean they're going to have to push a little bit aggressive on the final site. But Boise has played aggressive really well, and we saw that in the previous game against both the previous map and the previous game. So I think they could do it, and we see 2 of the members of Santa Cruz on the 1st floor. Or 2nd floor, sorry, that is. So we know they have roamers, but it looks like Boise's still going to go for the 3rd floor breach on top of the red stairs, where they've constantly been going through. So Santa Cruz should be very well equipped to handle this, as they put the electric barbed wire directly underneath them. But Gridlock gets the cheeky pick on that Jaeger who is hiding at the stairs.
I was going to say, do you think Boise State maybe needs to be a bit more creative where they go through? Because as you mentioned, this is the 3rd straight round they've sort of sieged through this 3rd floor, or the roof. Do you think they need to be a bit more creative going forward?
I definitely do, simply because they've both won and lost it so far. So I guess this is kind of the tiebreaker of whether or not they keep doing this or not. So I understand why they would do it for a 3rd time, of just like, all right, we won it, we lost it, let's see if we can win it again or not. And then I would foresee them switching if they lose it. But so far, it has paid off because they've gotten a pick out of it so far.
They have gotten a pick, but this time it feels like it's Boise State who's being the slow ones, as unfortunately JUCO dropped right into that. And now with a minute left, it feels like Boise State maybe being a bit too cautious these last couple rounds and almost running out of time.
Yeah, they're staying at windows too long. They need to push at least into the building and start taking control of at least a room somewhere. Right now, Sherb is in the freezer, which is helpful, and he manages to take out that Mira, but then falls to the Goyo, who was on the stairs and didn't end up even looking in his direction. I think Boise is definitely panicking right now, as Ultrascent is the last one just outside the window where his teammate just fell. So he's got 20 seconds, so he's definitely needs to either get on site and plant right now, or eliminate the last 3 members of Santa Cruz.
10 seconds to go. 5 seconds to go.
He does manage to get a good pick onto the Maestro, and they can hear him planning, so they're immediately going to rush him and take the round.
Yeah, it felt like Boise State just ran out of time because, as you mentioned, they can hear him planting, but I don't think he had time to do anything else. So it just seems like Boise State now has fallen into the same trap we saw Santa Cruz fall into last map, where they're almost being too cautious when they're on attack, and they just kind of run into this point where they eventually hit a time where they have to sort of full rush the bomb, and that's when things can get a little bit hairy.
Yeah, that's definitely the case right now. They're just playing slow, too methodical, and not getting enough value out of their anti-roamer ops. So now we're going to see the defenders go into kitchen.
So somebody in chat top's been saying he feels that Santa Cruz looks a lot more prepared on this map than they did on the last map.
For sure. Villa was definitely Boise's map. As we saw in the last game, they had it under control the entire time. I don't think Boise State was very much warmed up on this map from the looks of it so far, as Santa Cruz has just been holding it really tight. So we're going to see them hold up in kitchen first floor site. So I'd be very surprised if Boise still goes for the third floor entrance when they still have to go a whole nother floor just to reach Santa Cruz. And this site is definitely where they're going to be regretting not banning Mira. I can for sure say that.
I was about to ask you, it feels like a third floor drop down would be viable, but as you mentioned, there might be too many floors to go, so where would you recommend Boise State come in this round?
5 seconds.
I personally push in through the back right where Cade is right now. There's a garage door right there, which a lot of people actually don't reinforce, and it leads right to white stairs. So that allows you to deny a roaming entrance as well as begin to push a site and get control of about half the map, because you get control of 2 stairwells out of the current 3. So I'm surprised if Boise goes for bakery over the garage entrance. But it looks like they're actually going to be going for the second floor or even third floor is where Fox is currently headed. And he is.
It feels like Boise State may be just a bit too in love with this third floor sieging, because it just feels like they've gone there every time, as we've talked about it. It never really feels like they've gotten much value out of it.
And especially after the Wamai won the round for them being the final roamer that they never got, I feel like Boise's just kind of scarred by it, so they're never going to allow it again. So they're just going to keep going third floor, denying and clearing the rooms as they go. But they're just going to keep wasting time, as they already are at the 2-minute mark. And Boise has to start pushing site now, as they know no one's on third floor, or just going to have to leave it and push past them. We see Danny looking for a roamer as he's slowly creeping through second floor. Curious if there is no one on second floor. They're all on site.
I do like your point, Brenner Bear, about Boise State maybe being a bit too cautious, because we're almost down to a minute left, and now just finally, as I say, almost no one on Boise State had seen a single member on Santa Cruz.
Yeah, they just outspotted each other. Danny didn't. Oh, so he ran up red stairs and managed to eliminate both members of the Boise State team who were scouting out, and managed to destroy one of the mirror windows on first floor, but no one's there to get value off of it, and they did end up dropping Diffuser, which buys more time for Santa Cruz to get this victory. So they're down to the 45-second mark, where something has to happen for this team to pull out a win.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
There goes down another member, as well as Diffuser, so they have to go back to pick that up if they want to be able to win this round. But alas, they took too long and allowed the rest of the team to just collapse on top of them.
Man, it does feel like a broken record here, because it just feels like something's got to change for Boise State, because they keep pushing through the third floor. As you mentioned, they're maybe a little bit scared of that roamer that got them caught that last time. So, I mean, it feels like Santa Cruz has just played it perfectly. They didn't even have a roamer. They just put everybody on the site. So, is there maybe an operator change that needs to come out for Boise State? What is like the one big thing Boise State needs to change to sort of snap this losing streak?
I feel like they need to get more value out of the Nomad that they kept picking. I never saw any of her traps go off or anything to counter those roamers, and I feel like Boise's playing just too careful. I feel like they need to go back to their aggressive roots. They may not be as warmed up on this map as they were in the past, but they definitely just need to be like, okay, we need to get a handle of this situation and take site rather than take the rest of the map first.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
And it looks like the Santa Cruz once again went back to their favorite site of reading room and meeting hall. Or dining room. And they once again went to Wamai Mira. Go ahead.
I was saying, I am curious with the bombs being on the second floor, where should Boise State maybe come in through basement / first floor, or how should they come in if they're going to avoid going up through the roof again?
10 seconds.
I mean, I personally think they should go through first floor just because third floor is such a broken record at this point, and it hasn't worked the past 2 times that they've done it. So they definitely need to swap up something here because they're playing the same ops that they have been. They did finally decide to go with the Jaeger as a bit of a more anti-roamer to track their footprints, which we haven't seen before. But I still really hope they don't go third floor here.
Bomb diffuser has been dropped.
And it looks like they aren't so far, but famous last words as they rappel up the roof.
It does just feel like a broken record with them once again going up to the third floor. So then I guess that makes the question, what do you think Boise State thinks they're gaining by going to the third floor?
My guess would be control above the site, but they haven't been able to utilize it before, so if they finally do get control of it and manage to get rid of all the roamers, I'm curious to see how it'll play out for both teams.
And I am curious, could there be some sort of split push where you have a couple of members go up from the third floor and a couple maybe come up from the first floor, or would that just leave you too wide open to where if everybody's on site for Santa Cruz that you would just be too exposed?
I'm sorry, say that one more time? We saw Fox get the kill there, so that's what I was watching.
Oh, no worries. I was wondering if there's maybe some sort of like split strategy where, you know, you could send a couple members third floor for Boise State and a couple through the first floor and sort of meet up in the middle, or if that would leave you too exposed in maybe a bigger fight.
I don't see Boise doing that just because of the fear of roamers so much, because if the roamers manage to get 1 or 2 people down, then they don't have time to either save their friend or even deny that. So I'm very curious. And it looks like Boise did get control of the third floor as well. They did down the mirror, but weren't able to secure the elimination there. As well as they got one of Thermite's breach charges. He only has 2, so if they manage to get his last one, he can no longer hard breach, which leaves it all down to Hibana.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Magnet deployed. Loading new mag. Magnet ready.
They were able to tag that Legion, but they're still down that Thermite, and Gridlock charging in just gets picked right off.
Changing map.
Dana goes down, just peeking the hallway, so that leaves Hibana to push the site. She spots the Mira, been able to fire through that and get C forward, and then that cost Boise State the round.
Yeah, unfortunately, Boise State, same start and the same result with the third floor, and we did have somebody in chat point out that there really isn't any other option besides going third floor. They said you can't beat a Mira by pushing head on, which to me just sort of rings back to the bans, and it really feels like Boise State, who we've seen ban out the Mira the first 3 maps they played, first against in their first game and now against Santa Cruz, it really feels like they kind of regret leaving that Mira and banning the Clash instead.
Yeah, Clash is definitely an issue. I don't think the Echo was that big of a threat for them, because Danny can play a really good IQ I've seen in the past from past games, and she can spot the yokai drones. So if they just keep the IQ alive, they can easily eliminate the Echo, which is why I'm surprised they didn't ban Mira instead of Echo. And I think that's been really costing them this match so far.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
But I'm curious how Boise will also defend this with a Mira, because we haven't seen that on this map yet.
Yeah, and every time, Burner Bear, I just almost want to ask you where Boise State's going to go, but at this point it just feels like it's a foregone conclusion they're going to go through the third floor again.
Yeah, I would... At this point, it'll surprise me if they don't. Because it's just been their tried and true situation of just, we're going to keep going here until we win it. And they've won it the first time, and since then they've lost it every time.
5 seconds to go.
Very curious here. As you mentioned, they did it once before. They did win once before, so I am curious to see if they can find that back. But and also just has felt not even going third floor. It just feels like a lot of these pushes have been maybe a bit too slow, which might be a product of being on the third floor and as we talked about pushing down, but it really just feels like time has not been on their side at all, like we've seen in other games where they're ending on the attack even with over a minute left.
Yeah, and they also decided to go... Last time they were attacking the site, they had both the Lion, and they decided to go Monty instead. So it looks like once they're going to have the Monty drop down and scout as much as they can, because Santa Cruz did not go Legion this time to counter that Monty. So I'm curious how this plays out as Monty drops in and begins to push that B site. So you see the Maestro scouting out the Monty as they see him push from red stairs, which allows their roamer on the second floor some knowledge of where their team might be, but then we immediately loses that evil eye camera.
So as we're about halfway in here, what does Boise State need to do in this last minute and 30 seconds to take this round?
They need to get at least control of a corner of a map. Danny manages to get rid of that roamer on the second floor, which gives them some comfort, and there's no one underneath us. There is the mute on the white stairs, which they should be worried about. Oh, but they have yet to scout him out. Juco was looking towards him when he entered in lounge, but I don't think they ever spotted him as they're focusing on the mirror right now through the opening that they created. One of the members of Boise does end up going down, which is Fox, but Danny manages to immediately get a double elimination on the enemy team, giving them more time to push up as Mute comes up the stairs behind them. They don't know he's there, and manages to get the pick on Danny, and gets picked off by Juco, and they win the round.
Boise State finds one nice victory there to make it 4-2 as we swap sides. So, do you think we'll see Santa Cruz go with the same strat of pushing from the roof, or do you think we'll see them do something different now that they're attacking?
Because this is the first defense, I really don't know what they're going to go with. If they're going with a Maru, that's a very fast entrance. They have 3 operators, which are 3 speed right now, the Amaro, the Ash, and the Capital. So they're going to be charging in, and they have the Buck and Thermite for both soft and hard breaching. But they have no anti-electricity other than the Capital with his fire. So I'm really interested how Santa Cruz is going to attack this third floor bar defense from Boise State.
I'm just rooting for a non-roof breach, just to see if there's even another possibility on this map.
You could go first floor, but since they're third floor, that would just take a really long time for them. And it doesn't seem like that's something they'll do, especially against Amira. Because, like the person in chat pointed out earlier, it's almost impossible to beat Amira head on because she can see you and you can't see her. So I'm curious how this plays out for both sides. And also, Santa Cruz has been playing the mirror the whole time, so they should have a better idea of how to counter her on this site than BSU does, because they are more warmed up for it. So they should be expecting a little bit of the same.
10 seconds to go.
And so I guess, you know, we'll play a bit with the enemy here. What advice would you give Santa Cruz from what you can see from Boise State? How would you recommend they get to these bomb sites?
To locate a bomb and defuse it.
I would definitely go a 4-1 split like Boise just did with Danny. Have 4 people push through the roof and reliably accomplish it, because you know the enemies don't have Caveira for an interrogate. And so you could easily go 1 through the first floor and second floor, clear out roamers the best you can, and then have the rest go through the roof and just push site. Because then that would also draw the roamers probably closer to you, because you're where the mass majority of people are. And we see here already Capital on the first floor looking for the roamer through the garage that I mentioned earlier for breaching kitchen site. Ultrascent down to 5 HP at the most. It seems Danny is the one roaming in kitchen right now, so we'll see if he'll manage to beat this Capitao and Amaro combo, as they might drone him out. It seems like they're going to go up the stairs. Yeah, with the other 4 members of Boise State holding the site and only Monstrosity pushing the site right now, I think Danny might have to act soon if he wants to be able to get value off the other 2.
I was going to say, this still does feel like a slower push from Santa Cruz, so I'll be curious to see when the Banana Slugs want to start pushing in, because they are getting closer to that sort of 45-second sweet spot you've talked about.
Yeah, it's usually about 45 seconds is when a lot of stuff starts going down. You'll see people entering site, you'll see the first elimination just at a minute from Sherb onto Monstrosity. So he was the only one on the 3rd floor, as the rest of Santa Cruz hasn't even entered the 3rd floor yet. We see Amaro looking to go up into it, as there's a person directly right there that she does not know about. Looks like Danny is also moving up. They managed to get Hibana out of it, but then Amaro pulls up into sight, gets a pick. Sherb takes another one down, but Juco is then taken out. Sherb getting another run. Thought he was just dead. Nope, that was Ultrascent, sorry. That leaves Capitao. He has to drop down red stair, shoots the corpse, and gets eliminated by Danny.
Good job there by Boise State, and they did get the first pick onto Monstrosity, who you had mentioned, Brenner Bear, was the only one on the point, and he also has, I do think at least he did have the best KDA on the enemy team, so is that just a product of player skill? I know in some games, you know, kill-death ratio could be, oh, they were just playing the DPS characters, oh, they were just playing a character that, you know, is meant to get elimination. So is KDA an indicator of skill in this, or is it more of a, oh, he was just a roamer, or oh, he was in the right position?
I mean, Monstrosity was their roamer, and he was getting a lot of value because he was harassing the Boise State team as we saw them playing really slow because of Monstrosity. So I'm not surprised that they are kind of targeting him, I guess. But at the same time, it also comes down to clicking heads. We see that from both Danny, Sherb, and Fox. They're really good at just getting the eliminations, so KDA is not the biggest deal, because you can also just play an op like Monty and just sit in a corner and you'll never die. You'll also have no kills, but it's it goes hand in hand, usually.
Hey man, you get those assists up, and you can just brag to your team about and ask them why they're all dying. I know I've had several teammates in several games who do that to me. So, as we get in here with the first floor bombs, do you think we saw when Santa Cruz picked first floor, Boise State tried to go through the roof and just sort of ran out of time. Do you think Santa Cruz might have a better strategy, or do you think they'll just try and be a bit quicker coming from the roof?
For kitchen, they didn't really go much. They kind of went roof. I don't think they'll go roof here just because it's the kitchen site. I think they want to go more of, because we already saw the Capitao and Amaro go towards garage like I suggested for Boise that they do. So if they do go garage, I'll personally be quite happy with that. And we see Sherb here looking for the pick from the spawn towards Park, I believe. Or is this Christmas Market, one of the two? And so we'll see if he can get a quick spawn peek. We see one coming around the corner. He saw him for a second, but we looked away from it. That's too bad.
Changing mags. Is active.
Here, get a little bit of lag on my end, but we're back. So we see them pushing first floor as well. So it doesn't look like they're going to go third floor. Then we see Danny has Pulse scouting around looking for them on the second floor to see if they'll go for a roof breach.
I was going to say, how would you grade how Santa Cruz has handled this first minute here? And do you think they need to be a bit quicker, or do you think they've done a good job of it?
I think they did a lot of scouting out. I think Sherb definitely could have gotten that early elimination had he not looked away towards that spawn peak. But at the same time, you can only do so much, so it's alright. At least they're holding sight really well. It doesn't look like they have one Mozzie's on the stairs as their only roamer, but everyone else is holding sight. So it looks like they're going to go for a long hold rather than the aggressive Boise playstyle we've seen in the past. And we do see the Twitch drone come out, just poking Danny a little bit. And as someone who plays Twitch, it's a ton of fun, just tasering people. So we see Santa Cruz go for the hard breach through Bakery.
Claymore set.
As well as the Claymore denying the rotation if they decide to push them. We do see one member of Santa Cruz on the second floor. I believe that was the Buck. And it looks like they're Finka gadget as well, which gives them the temporary health boost. So looks like it gives them the confidence to push in. Monstrosity does get the pick on Juco, who peeked. So it looks like they're going to have mostly control of the first floor so far, unless this Mozzie on the second floor can get some value. Or did he move? He moved down to first floor. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't believe they know that he is there. Yeah, they're definitely running out of time. So this Buck is going to have to start acting on the second floor and draw the attention, so his team can push in. We see Danny looking towards him as well. Danny gets a quick elimination with his C4, and so does Ultra Scent as he peeks the corner, drawing their attention. Leaves 3 members left of Santa Cruz, but they do get the pick on Juco. Sherp getting a double elimination on the enemy team,
5 seconds
leaving
to go.
just Buck on the second floor having to run. He's not going to make it, so that will give Boise State the win
Operators, you're
on
out.
this round.
It really feels like this is a map that the attacking side has not had a lot of luck in. We've seen a lot of, or both teams really have run out of time in one round. So I'll be curious to see if Santa Cruz can find a way to go just a tad faster, because that was a problem that plagued Boise State. As you are watching University Siege League, Boise State versus Santa Cruz, Broncos versus the Banana Slugs, all tied up at 4 aside right now. Boise State is on match point after winning the first map. But I wouldn't say, Brendan Barry, it really feels like since Santa Cruz is on the attacking side, they've got to find a way to speed it up, because that was sort of the issue that plagued Boise State in the first 6 rounds.
Yeah, it just seems attacking on this map is going really slow for both sides, and that when they do push together, they're just getting cleaned up left and right. We saw when they began to push Kitchen, the 3-man squad that was pushing in, Danny just got a pick with his C4, and then Ultracent just came around the corner and got another one, which immediately just destroyed their whole push down that hallway, leaving Buck to just run around and run out of time.
Yeah, we did have somebody in
think
chat saying, I can only assume Buck was getting yelled at that whole round, because that was frustrating to watch, of course referencing how he just sort of ran out of time there, not even on the right floor.
Yeah, I think he took too long to engage them as well. It was not the best idea at all. But we see Boise doing a lot of the same things that Santa Cruz did on this site, with both the Mira and Supply Closet, and they are opening a lot of foot peeking holes on this floor around the stairs. So it looks like they're going to go kind of a spread defense here, as we see the Twitch Monstrosity drone take out the camera in the hallway. Danny spots it, takes it out, so that's one less Twitch drone.
I'm just waiting to see if we're going to see another 3rd floor push here from Santa Cruz, so that I can once again wait to see how they can do it better than we've seen the first 8 rounds.
Yeah. I mean, they are tied up so far, so they're both doing really well.
That is true.
Boise has definitely come back with this defense. So we see Danny holding in trains right there. We see Ultracent barricading that hatch in Lounge for the 3rd floor, denying Santa Cruz that mode of entry as they begin to drone it and notice that he is there.
So it does look like we have avoided the roof breach again. Well, I do see one member up there, but
Yeah.
we've also avoided
And possibly-
breaching at all.
Yeah, so far they've been very slow. Not one person has entered the building. I'm curious to see how they will proceed with this. Womai is getting a lot of value holding 2 members in this area, but he is finally picked off by Monstrosity, who is upside down in the window. So props to him for being able to do that. And they hear the Nomad up there, so they know they're pushing 3rd floor. Danny is holding trains room. Monty knows he's in there, so I'm curious if he pushes it. Ultrasen gets the pick onto the Nomad.
Reloading!
As we see Sherb get discovered by people who are pushing red stairs from that hatch.
I'm a big fan of the man with the sledgehammer right now.
Yeah, he kind of makes his own doors and everything.
And who needs doors when you have a sledgehammer? He has to do some interior design work. We are at that 30-second mark, and it feels like Santa Cruz, once again, just not quick enough. I'll see if Boise State can hold him.
Yeah, Danny has definitely been holding off Monty with the diffuser in trains, but he eventually does get picked off by their thermite. So I'm very curious to see how they play out this last 15 seconds as they have to push this Mira through Fireplace. And as Boise State, you can see, just collapses on them. Monstrosity does end up getting the elimination onto Ultrasen. Sherb gets the payback. Bucks goes down as Sherb then gets revenge for it. So it comes down to, can they get this diffuser, and Sherb gets it.
Operators, you have run out of time.
That was an incredible play by Sherp there, having, as you mentioned, you can hear the diffuser going off. Having the awareness to go right for the diffuser, knowing even though there was a member left of Santa Cruz, the time was going to run out on him, even if Sherb, as long as Sherb got that 1 kill, it wouldn't have mattered if he went down.
Yeah, it's just great game sense by him all around, prioritizing diffuser over the one other remaining member, because he knew once you start diffuser, you're helpless. And it won him the game because they were out of time. Once again, Santa Cruz just taking too long to get onto site and take control of the map.
Yeah, it really feels like that has been the issue for both teams. Boise State did manage to steal 2 wins attacking, so I think that's going to be what it's up to for Santa Cruz here. They've got to find a way to get those 2 wins so that at least can draw it out with Boise State and head into overtime, because this has felt like a very defense-favored map.
So far, it has, and depending on once it gets into overtime for both teams, I'm curious who is finally going to get a win on
Protect
attack.
your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Boise State found 2 wins. It was out of 6 tries, and every single time they did go to the 3rd floor, but as we had someone in chat mention, it sort of has to be through the roof 3rd floor area, with the Mira not being banned away by Boise State this time. So, Runner Bear, as we see Boise State set up their defenses, how would you recommend Santa Cruz find a way to get this first win on offense?
I say if they decide to go through the roof hatch,
Go.
their Monty is going to have to be the big playmaker for them, and scouting them out and letting them know this is where you have to fire to get the elimination so that we can win this
Objective is to
round.
locate a bomb
But
and
if
defuse
Boise
it.
State gets the pick on that Monty, I think Santa Cruz is going to be in big trouble for this round. Monty is definitely the win condition as of right now. As we see them begin to push from both Christmas Market and Park. And they never did get the camera outside, so possibly Danny might be going for a sneaky run out to get at least 1 elimination for his team. But it looks like they got onto the roof, and he might not be able to get that happen. Juco is the only one in Cigar Lounge as 2 people begin to push through the windows, so it's going to be the same situation we saw last time. And he flashed himself.
We've seen a couple of self-inflicted wounds, especially on the Boise State side.
Yeah, first fell off the roof as Sledge and was at 20 health the rest of the game, and then Wamai just flashbanged himself and didn't look away. We have fun here.
Yeah,
So it looks like at least
the
one of
mistakes
the members.
you can learn from.
Exactly. Small little things. Everyone makes those small mistakes of flashbanging yourself.
Attackers have dropped
We
the
see
bomb.
Monty go upside down and gets picked off with the diffuser. Sure, getting a huge pick for his team. So that means 2 members of Santa Cruz have to go back, get the diffuser secure, and then go back to site.
Now, maybe I'm missing base here as a new player, but sending the guy with the shield on a vertical rappel mission seems like potentially one of the worst things you could do.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Santa Cruz. He was looking for pick upside down and just... Sherb just shot the head. He just did better. But we did see Danny did get eliminated when he tried to go for the run out against the Capitao. So they are once again even. We see Wamai get taken out after they pushed into Lounge by the Capitao once again. Sherb then gets revenge for his teammates, headshotting the Capitao. Once again, teams are evened up as they know at least some of them have to be in Lounge. So I'm curious what this mirror does in the freezer.
And I'm curious to see how Santa Cruz once again handles these final 20 seconds. It feels like it's just a broken record at this point. Offense, Santa Cruz, and 20 seconds left.
So Mira sees 2 of them. She gets the headshot on the person with the diffuser, so they have advantage here. She gets another headshot, double headshot for her. Monstrosity, the last member of his team alive, gets another double. So it's the 2 double kill players and manages to stay alive. And Boise winning it. Round 10.
We are doing, it is University Siege League. Boise State taking on Santa Cruz in this Rainbow Six Siege matchup. Boise State doing an excellent job with a come from behind match point, at least not quite a victory. Don't want to speak anything. Maybe have the caster curse come against me, but Boise State doing an excellent job. I will say it has helped them out that they went on defense second here, but Santa Cruz got to find a way. It just feels like second round in a row where they've had a member alive and they've just run out of time.
Yeah, that seems to be a consistent problem for this team is they're not utilizing the tools they have at hand, both with the Monty just being able to push. Like, they had him rappel on the window, which was really interesting. And it looks like because they're scared of that Monty, they're going to go Legion as well as they're going to combat the Legion with an IQ. It's like they know what each other is doing. So IQ is going to be a huge win condition for Santa Cruz, both spotting the Pulse and the Legion traps, even though they didn't go Monty here. So I'm curious how they're going to play this out with both these 2 ops.
Yeah,
it looks like Boise State also in Kitchen.
I was saying, it is curious to me that Boise State counterpicked the Monty when Monty really hasn't been much of success.
Getting
for
a lot
Santa
of value.
Cruz.
Yeah,
it is curious that you're counterpicking something that really has almost been a detriment to Santa Cruz. That seems like almost getting in your head a little bit there.
I think because they went for the first floor site in Kitchen, they just wanted to have the insurance of we don't want to deal with Monty pushing through and us being unable to counter him at this point. And plus, Legion is also just a good person to slow down the enemy team. We see Juco also in Capcan, so he can place his traps on the doors, but with this IQ on the other team, it's going to come down to a lot of her and the Twitch denying their traps all over the map. So I'm curious to see how this plays out between the trap setters and the deniers.
And I'm really curious to see how Santa Cruz can find a way to be, I don't even know if 10% quicker is enough, like 30% quicker, because they just keep running out of time. They aren't even really, Boise State almost could just sit on the bomb and Santa Cruz would lose by themselves because they'd be so cautious. So I do want to see the Banana Slugs be about 20 to 30% quicker.
That would be a nice change of pace for sure, especially for both teams. I feel like they're both playing just very slow. Maybe it's just the map for this, but I guess I haven't had that problem before. So I'm interested to see how this plays out for sure.
Someone did
Yeah,
make
they're
a
definitely
point in
going
chat. Both
hard hold.
have played Mira, and neither team knows how to counter Mira.
I know, and we see Santa Cruz playing the Twitch, and she can destroy the Miras if she gets close enough. But once again, she's out of Twitch drones, actually, so that's kind of a win for Boise there. But I'm really surprised that they haven't been utilizing the anti-mirror strats that exist in the current meta. So it's just really surprising that they would go for this. And Monstrosity just did get a headshot on Fox from BSU, so that is a loss, because that was the Legion as well. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts, Fish, on the current situation with Boise being down a member?
You know, I definitely think and it's a lot of other games that I played as well with Counter-Strike and such that are somewhat similar. It does feel like defense sort of has that innate advantage because the pressure's all on the offense. That's a huge double C4 by Danny, by the
that
way.
Was
using
great
the
by Danny using, value from the pulse immediately, and he got the IQ with that. So that is big value for this trap-centric team. And Twitch is currently down. A lot is happening.
But yeah, I was going to say, it really feels like defense has like a pseudo extra member, and that's the time. So even down a member, I would have thought Boise State was still in a very advantageous spot.
And Danny does get the pixel elimination onto that Maverick. So we're going to see if this sledge can grenade it, but he gets picked off by Danny, and they win the round. Danny, it was just his round, I guess.
Yeah, Danny is fantastic. I know we had somebody in the chat say on offense it felt like Boise State's strategy was get Danny to get a triple kill every round, and it worked a couple times, but I did get stats in my ear with production telling me that every round it's about a 60% win rate for the defense, and that definitely held true that time. I think the offense only won 2 rounds that entire game. That it was University Siege League, Boise State versus Santa Cruz. The Broncos doing a great job to come back after a bit of a struggle on offense, but after what we saw from the Banana Slugs, it was really sort of a torrid pace winning too. So great job there by Boise State to come back there and take both maps against Santa Cruz.
Yeah, good on both teams. Santa Cruz played really well. They held that defense really well, as we saw with the 60% win rate, holding true to the myth that it is. And again, I think that Miraban just came really down to both teams just not countering her as well as they should.
Yeah, somebody pointed out in the chat there, it was kind of funny that both teams know how to play Mira, but neither knows how to counter them. We do have our player of the game, and then our top 5, but before we get to our top 5, our player of the game, do you have any predictions, Brenner Bear, for our player of the game?
I mean, after watching that last round with the double C4, I have to go with Danny. He was definitely the key player playing both the pulse and a lot of the roaming, keeping control of the map when they were defending, and also attacking. He gained a lot for him. And if not, I would have to say the next one would be Sherb. Sherb did really well playing objective and securing a lot of eliminations for his team.
You know what, Sherb, also at the very end there, he got a motorcycle on the roof of that, which, it wouldn't surprise me. Boise State basically lived on that roof, so I'm sure they found a way to get up there. So I could pick him as my Idaho Central Credit Union player at the game. We will see who it is going to be, and it is going to be Danny, as you mentioned. And you know what? I'm going to have to agree with you, though. That double C4, that was clutch, and that sort of won that last map for that last game for Boise State. So I don't know how you can argue with that.
Yeah, he's just doing really well both games. You saw him just click all the heads. He just pulled it out for his team really well. They played really well with each other. It was just all-around great game to watch.
Yeah, and as we always say with Boise State, it is a team game. I don't know if Danny could go in and 1v5 the members of Santa Cruz, though I know he did get very close to getting an ace in our first game. But it is an all-around team game, but somebody's got to have the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, and I think Danny definitely did enough to deserve that honor. So shout out to him, and some of these plays they scare me, honestly, Brenner Bear, for what I'm going to be experiencing when I install Rainbow Six tonight, because I am nowhere near ready to face someone like Danny.
If you sell in tonight, I'll definitely play with you and never let that happen.
See, my problem would be I'd be like, there's 2 minutes left. We've got to push the objective, and I would immediately die because I'd be sprinting at the bomb site. So I definitely need to learn some tactical patience because I know in games like Call of Duty, camping is the bane of my existence, but it feels like camping is the way to go in this game, so I've definitely got to adjust my strategy.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a learning curve, but you can do it. You've watched our BSU team play. Hey, you know it's possible.
Yeah, just emulate the BSU team. How hard could it be to, not even drop a round against one of the teams we played earlier? How hard can it be? I'm sure it's, my first game in.
Just pray to Danny for all of his skill. He'll grant it to you, and then you'll just win.
Exactly. Or maybe, you know what, I'll just say, hey, Danny, how big's your backpack, and can I hook you up with a bigger one from REI? Because I will just gladly hop in it. But we are going to end tonight's stream with our top 5 plays of the game. We want to thank everyone in the Twitch chat for watching. Thank you, Brenner Bear, for joining me on, I'd say the cast desk, but we are socially distancing ourselves, of course. So thank you for joining me. I'd love to have you back. It was a ton of fun. And also, hey, good luck in any Overwatch games you play, because you're also on the Overwatch team.
Yeah, I kind of got my hands full, but I'll gladly come back anytime.
Well, thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to Burner Bear. And hopefully we'll see you guys next time and enjoy these top 5 plays as we leave.
Can't spot people only in the gadget, so if you go on your phone to view cams, she can see that you're on your phone, and then she can shoot at you. But there's also people like the Thatcher who is commonly banned, who just disables gadgets entirely, which is why he's almost always banned, because he has the EMP grenades. And here we see Boise State win the round.
Until these final 20 seconds, it feels like it's just a broken record at this point. Offense, Santa Cruz, and 20 seconds left.
So Mira sees 2 of them. She gets the headshot on the person with the diffuser, so they have advantage here. She gets another headshot, double headshot for her. Monstrosity, the last member of his team alive, gets another double. So Danny has to go for the plane, and they don't have enough time. So it comes down to Ultrasen laying down fire for Danny so he can plant, but he does end up getting the pick, but they clean it up, and Danny doesn't even have to plant. They win the round based off eliminations from their aggressiveness. Oh, but Boise also evens it out by taking out the Jaeger with the Hibana. Clash trying to get him lowered down with her electricity. And we see Danny push onto the bar site, taking out the cap. Hard breacher. That is a hard loss for the Boise State team. They're not allowed to go through those metal walls anymore. But Danny is immediately going to avenge him by getting an elimination onto the bandit.
And is that elimination even more huge on the Juco because he did drop the diffuser as well? I guess it was huge until Danny picked up a triple kill. Drop the